Hey everyone, Dogmatic1 here, and welcome to Dogmatic DIY. Today I'm making, looks like a stacked books here with 2x6s here, and just coloring them differently with some ribbon. I'm going to show you how to make it, so let's get started. So first thing you want to do is, since I'm making these out of 2x6s, like if you go on Etsy and you look at them, they're using 1x4 pieces, and they're only making them like 4 inches long. I'm looking at the dimensions. I'm like, how does that look like a book? Like those are like little pamphlets you get when you buy a tool or something like that. That's how small those are. I'm like, that's crazy that to look at, it's smaller than this. Like sure, you can stack them 3 high, but it's still only 2.25 inches high. People are buying it, so I may do a few of those too. But this one here, I wanted to make it look like hardcover books. You know what I mean? So some people don't even round the sides. I'm gonna try to round the side even more than it is, just so it kind of looks almost like concave, like a bookend would look, right? So now you can make them any size you want. What I did is, since these are just scrap pieces of wood, I wanted to find three that I could cut to be equal. So they're about 9.5. These ones. Now it doesn't have to be 9.5. I could have made it 8, and it still would have been fine. But I just cut them all together. And then you don't have to really sand too much of the ones that are being stacked. So if you're stacking them on top of each other, you don't really need to sand this down, right? Too much. But I'm going to at least do a light sanding to get rid of any of the rough edges, so when I glue them together that it sticks, because I'm going to end up putting a little bit of stain, or the color, the colors I'm using, to overlap in it so you can't see. Because if I just do here, you might be able to see a little bit on the inside. So I'll at least go an inch into onto the top part, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand them, try to round the edges there, clean off the sides, get rid of any possible splinters and stuff like that. And then once I've done sanding, we'll come back. Okay, so I'm done sanding. So as you can see here, I don't know if it's, maybe you can see it from the side, that I rounded it off. Try to round it off so it kind of looks like a bookend. And then I'll just write what color. So this one here will be the black, so that'll be at the bottom. This will be walnut, and it'll be in the middle, and then this will be the white at the top. So when I stack them, you'll be able to see how you can see they're rounded at least. So let me wipe these down, make sure there's no sawdust, and I'll put the colors on here, and then we'll let it dry. Do them individually, and then should be fine after one coat, but we'll see how much it's absorbed in this wood. But I'm using black chalk paint, and I'm using white chalk paint, and it's usually pretty thick, so it should be okay. The walnut we'll take a look, as it's just a stain. So let me get these colors on and we'll come back. Okay, as you can see, so the walnut one's done. Did a light sanding to pop the grains a little bit there after the stain was dried. And here's the black now, and then I kind of sanded back down to the wood a little bit so it makes it look old and rustic. And then what I noticed with the white, it's too, oh, it's hard to tell. In here, let me get it under the light here. But it's too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of the walnut that's on the rag, and then I'm going to rub it over top of the white. Kind of almost look like just an off-white, almost like a beige a little bit, because I think it'll look better when it's just not as bright. So let me pop this and kind of, I wouldn't call it pop, but I mean let me kind of dull in the white there, and we'll put it together and see how it looks. So as you can see if you can tell, I kind of added a little bit of the special walnut on it to kind of discolor it a little bit. Let me throw it up here so you kind of can see it. I might sand it a little bit just to see if it lightens up a little bit. I don't know if that's too dark or not, but I like that it's not as bright as the white. And this black, as soon as I put the poly on there, it'll kind of brighten up the black and make it look more black. Right now in the light here, it kind of almost looks bluish gray and dark gray or charcoal or whatever. Just it'll look, but I think I'm gonna do a light sanding. So let me do that. And then what I did also is I kind of practice on the lettering, because I got acrylic pen markers or acrylic pens or whatever you want to call them, that I can write them with paint on there. So I wanted to kind of give an idea, since these are 1.5 inches. I just did like an inch gap between the two, between them, and then I want to make sure they're all going to start at one end, right, and work their way towards the middle of the board. So I wanted it to kind of line up at this end, but I didn't want it to go any further than this distance. So that way, when I put my ribbon and string on one end, it won't cover any of the letters. So that's just freehand. Obviously, it's going to be a little different because I'm going to have to actually write it on here with my hand without anywhere to rest it, right? So might figure it out. Maybe I'll clamp all three together so I can rest my hand on something that's the same height. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out on how I'm going to write the lettering. But having your hand, I don't know if anybody's ever had their hand float without sitting it. It's I'm not that kind of artistic to be able to do that. So let me sand this first a little bit, see if I can lighten up a little bit, and then I'm going to get the lettering on, then we'll come back. Okay, so I'll give you an update here. I've hand drawn, or whatever you want to call it, hand written them in here. I'm not overly excited about it, but the wife likes it, so I guess that's all that matters, right? So yeah, definitely not as easy. It'd be easier if I didn't have to, if I had thicker pens. Like if you look at my acrylic markers I have, so let me show you. See how thin the tip is. So what I had to do is I had to trace over the letter multiple times to thicken it. The ones you see on Etsy or whatever that are only this wide. So let me grab some. This is the thickness of the ones you see on Etsy. Is, you know, 3/4 inches, so you don't need the lettering to be thicker. It looks big just on there with a thin pen like I have. But to make it look better on here, I had to fatten the lines, if you will, that's what you want to call it, or thicken the lines. So it doesn't look as good. The white, the issue I had with the white is like the black, as you're writing, it replenishes the tip, right, with paint. The white one didn't, so I had to keep pushing in on the pen tip to release more ink for some reason. So that's why you see the C is a little thicker than the other one. But guess it's just supposed to look handmade anyways. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing a clear coat on each side or a poly on each side, I'm going to poly all three together. I'm going to glue them together first and then poly it, because no reason to do the poly in between. I'd rather at least put some wood glue so the wood glue connects them wood to wood and not on the poly. So I'm going to glue them together, and then I'm going to poly it, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I glued them together and ended up fixing the C. It looks much better now. I just made it thicker, and then just took some of the, used a kind of, I didn't want to use anything too thick, so I just grabbed like a toothpick and just kind of filled it in. And once I put the poly on it, it'll be better. Now, one of the boards was a little warped, so when I was clamping on each side to glue it down, you know, depending on which side was tighter, I'd wanna. So what I did is I just drilled some holes under here and put 3-inch screws in, so I can grab all three just to hold it. It should still be fine with the glue, but I just did it for a little bit extra. They're just going to sit on a table. Nobody's going to be throwing them around. So next now is I'm going to put some polyurethane on it, and then I'll put some padding on the feet, and then we'll be just about done. So I'll come back when we're going to wrap it up. Okay, so I got a couple coats of poly on it, and she's pretty much done. As you can see, got the feet on the bottom here. Put a couple screws in the bottom, just because the boards are, all three of them aren't perfectly flat. So glue's pretty good. When I was pulling on it, didn't sound like it wanted to come apart, but just in case. So what I'm going to do is, my wife went to the dollar store and just got this, looks like what do you want to call it, almost like a burlap. So she wants to put that around, and I don't know what that is. Piece of ribbon as well. So what I'll do is I'll just wrap it, and I'll use the glue gun. I'll use my hot glue gun here just to glue it at the bottom, wrap it around. So let me do that, so and then we can wrap this up. Okay, so I think I'm done now. So what I did is, this first row here is like a burlap. The cool thing about this burlap is it's got clear sticky tape on the underside. So once you get your your length and you cut it, you can just peel it away and it'll stick. So it's a good guide there. So, cause I glued it with the hot glue gun on the back side anyways, just in case the sticky goes away. And then I did the black, same thing in the middle. And I hot glue gun that and made sure it was in the middle. And I just took a piece of this twine. The twine's not glued on there, but it's fine. So if it moves, you can easily move it around again. But that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that bell to be notified when I post another video. And we'll talk to you later.